Carl Jung wasn't just another name in psychology. He was a pioneer who dared to bridge the unseen with the seen, the unconscious mind with the tangible world. His fascination with Eastern philosophy and medieval alchemy was no accident. It was a quest to decode the symbolic language that life constantly speaks. By diving into the labyrinth of the internal world, Jung realized that the external world wasn't so external after all. It danced, it whispered, and sometimes it screamed, reflecting the inner chaos or harmony we carry within. His view was clear. Without understanding symbolism, we'd miss half the conversation life is trying to have with us. When Jung started exploring the collective unconscious, it was like opening Pandora's box. Except, instead of chaos, he found a hidden order shimmering underneath. Symbols from myths, dreams, and ancient rituals began revealing a pattern, a kind of map that guided souls through personal growth and transformation. You see, Carl Jung wasn't content with the idea of random coincidence. He knew there was meaning stitched into the very fabric of existence. This awareness set the foundation for synchronicity, a phenomenon that blends crisis, emotional intensity, and symbolic vision into an alchemy of change. Picture yourself facing a tough life decision. Maybe you're about to quit a job, in a relationship, or move to a new city. Suddenly, you stumble upon a book about new beginnings, or a stranger tells you a story that mirrors your dilemma. That's not just coincidence. That's the unconscious mind and the universe having coffee together, exchanging signs. Jung believed that through these symbolic visions, both the internal world and external world spoke the same secret language, creating bridges of understanding when we needed them most. But let's be honest, modern life hardly encourages us to slow down and read between the lines. In a culture that worships causality and data, paying attention to a scarab beetle landing on your windowsill sounds almost ridiculous. Yet Jung insisted that symbolic visions and meaningful coincidences often emerge precisely when our logical minds are at a loss. The key lies in presence, learning to live with an eye not just for what happens, but for why it happens to you. If you ever want to practice this, start a synchronicity journal. Trust me, after a month, you'll never look at coincidences the same way again. What's thrilling and a little unsettling is realizing that every crisis could be a secret invitation from the unconscious mind. Just as alchemy sought to turn base metals into gold, synchronicity asks us to turn everyday events into tools for transformation. Jung saw life not as a random sequence of happenings, but as an interconnected universe unfolding a symbolic drama just for you. And if that idea seems wild, wait until you understand how synchronicity itself defies causality and challenges everything science thought it knew. Defining synchronicity as meaningful coincidence. Imagine living in a world where not everything that matters has a logical cause. And that's exactly the world Carl Jung dared to describe. Synchronicity, in his eyes, wasn't some mystical fantasy. It was a meaningful coincidence where the unconscious mind and the external world collided without any causal link. Unlike the usual logic that demands a neat reason for every event, synchronicity points to a hidden order where symbolism and emotional intensity trump dry causality. It's as if the universe had its own secret way of nodding at you when you're on the edge of personal growth. To really grasp this, think about bumping into an old friend on the very day you were reminiscing about them, despite being in a city of millions. That's not causality. That's the universe pulling a clever stunt. Jung stressed that synchronicity is soaked in symbolic language, woven deeply into the fabric of the internal world and external world. When life sends you a scarab instead of a reason, it's time to drop your obsession with scientific causality and embrace the poetry written in your very existence. After all, causality can explain a lot, but it can't explain everything. Jung didn't pull this idea out of thin air. He anchored it in the collective, unconscious, and the transformational potential buried in crises. He understood that meaningful coincidences don't just happen randomly. They bloom in moments where emotional intensity runs high and transformation is knocking at the door. It's the existential reflection that turns an ordinary event into a guiding star. When you learn to recognize that even mundane moments can feel like sacred ceremonies of personal growth, hinting at the interconnected universe that Eastern philosophy has whispered about for centuries. Now, here's where the magic gets practical. Instead of brushing off coincidences, start interpreting them. Keep a journal and note down every odd, out of the blue, event that resonates with your emotional life. After a few weeks, patterns will emerge, patterns too rich to dismiss as pure chance. The more you cultivate self-awareness, the clearer this hidden order becomes. It's like tuning an old radio. You'll start picking up frequencies of meaning that most people walk right past, stuck in the noise of causality and random thinking. Of course, skeptics love to scoff at this. They'll say, it's just your brain seeking patterns. But Jung wasn't naive. He understood the unconscious mind better than anyone else. He knew that life's symbolic vision often reveals itself in the cracks left by logic's failure. As you'll see, synchronicity isn't about abandoning reason. It's about expanding your view to include the signs and wonders that pure reason can't touch. And if that's the case, how exactly does this hidden conversation between our inner chaos and the external world even take shape? Well, that's where it gets even more fascinating. Internal-external connection through synchronicity. Carl Jung wasn't just playing with poetic metaphors when he spoke about the internal world and external world reflecting each other. He meant it quite literally. Synchronicity shows up when the unconscious mind spills into the visible world, creating a bridge made not of stone, but of symbolism and emotional intensity. Imagine waking up from a dream about a phoenix, only to walk past a mural of a phoenix hours later. Coincidence? Maybe, but Jung would nudge you to look deeper. Maybe your soul is whispering that it's time for a rebirth. During moments of personal crisis or transformation, this symbolic bridge becomes even more vivid. When life feels chaotic and the old ways no longer make sense, the collective unconscious seems to throw breadcrumbs along your path, guiding you toward renewal. It's like the universe conspires, nudging both your internal reflections and external circumstances into a delicate choreography. If you're experiencing emotional upheaval, pay attention. Symbols are everywhere, offering maps to navigate the storm. You're not hallucinating meaning. You're uncovering a hidden order at play. Take real-life examples. Someone going through a painful breakup might suddenly hear songs everywhere about self-love and new beginnings. Someone battling self-doubt might randomly meet a stranger who says exactly what they needed to hear. Jung believed these weren't accidents. They were signs of the unconscious mind resonating through the external world. It's like tuning into a cosmic radio station broadcasting the soundtrack of your personal growth story, if only you're awake enough to hear it. Want to tap into this bridge more consciously? Start practicing emotional mindfulness. Whenever you feel a strong emotion, grief, excitement, fear, pause and observe what's happening outside you. Are there random signs mirroring your inner state? Maybe a billboard, a conversation snippet, a book title staring at you from a shelf. Take notes, reflect, and you'll be stunned at how often the internal world and external world weave together. It's not magic. It's the deeper structure of reality itself showing its face for a fleeting second. And if this connection is real, and Jung certainly believed it was, then the next question becomes even more tantalizing. What is the language that the unconscious mind and the universe use to communicate across this mysterious bridge? It's not English, Spanish, or math equations. It's something far older and far more profound. It's the timeless, shimmering world of symbols. The role of symbols and universality in synchronicity. If you ever wondered how the universe talks to you, here's a hint. It doesn't send emails or text messages. It sends symbols. Carl Jung realized that symbols are the universal language of the unconscious mind, a bridge that links the internal world and external world without needing words. When synchronicities happen, it's often through these timeless images that the message is delivered. Think of it as the universe doodling secret notes in the margins of your life, hoping you'll notice before you toss the paper away. One of Jung's favorite examples involved the scarab beetle, a symbol of rebirth and transformation in ancient Egyptian culture. During a therapy session, as a patient was recounting a dream about a golden scarab, a real beetle tapped against the window. Now, that's the kind of meaningful coincidence that leaves even the most hardened skeptics scratching their heads. Jung understood that such symbols were not personal inventions, but came from the collective unconscious, tying individual experiences to a greater, universal story of change, survival, and emotional intensity. It's not just ancient symbols that show up either. Dreams of rivers, mountains, doors, and even snakes are packed with layers of meaning recognized across cultures and eras. These are the recurring guests in the grand play of human consciousness. So when you see these symbols echoing in your life, whether through dreams, art, books, or even spontaneous events, pause. There's usually a message beneath the surface, a push toward personal growth, transformation, or even existential reflection waiting for your attention. A simple practice you could try is creating your own symbol map. Every time a powerful image or symbol appears, be it in a dream, a meditation, or a weird coincidence, write it down and research its meanings across different cultures. You'll be surprised how often themes of rebirth, unity, hidden order, and awakening will repeat. Understanding this symbolic language isn't just about decoding riddles. It's about building a conversation with your deeper self and the interconnected universe all around you. But if symbols hold such enormous power to shape our understanding and guide us through emotional intensity and crises, why isn't science out there measuring synchronicities and proving their existence beyond a shadow of a doubt? That's where things get tricky, and that's exactly the puzzle Jung tried to tackle next. The challenge of scientific verification. Carl Jung knew he was wading into dangerous waters when he proposed synchronicity. Science, with all its rigor and demand for reproducibility, wasn't exactly welcoming to concepts like symbolic vision and meaningful coincidence. Synchronicity stubbornly refuses to behave like a lab experiment. It can't be summoned on command, measured in grams, or charted on neat graphs. It's a rebel, like the unconscious mind itself, showing up precisely when you least expect it, especially during moments of crisis and emotional intensity, not when you're trying to prove a theory. One of the reasons synchronicity resists traditional scientific methods is because it shatters the principle of causality. Causality demands a straight line, a cause is B, but synchronicity dances in spirals and mosaics, where A and B happen together without a causing B at all. It's like trying to catch a shadow with a butterfly net. It slips through the very structure of scientific expectation. Jung, with his deep respect for both alchemy and Eastern philosophy, understood that some aspects of the interconnected universe operate beyond the limited reach of empirical proof. Still, Jung didn't dismiss science. He simply pointed out its limitations. He recognized that psychology itself straddles a strange line between the measurable and the ineffable. The symbolic language of dreams, the internal world, and the flashes of synchronicity were, to him, as real as gravity, just harder to pin down with numbers. If you've ever experienced a sudden, life-changing coincidence, you know it's almost laughable to call it random. There's a feeling, an emotional resonance, that demands to be taken seriously, no matter what the skeptics say? In practical terms, this means we shouldn't expect scientists to validate every synchronistic experience with a peer-reviewed paper. Instead, the verification lies within personal growth, internal transformation, and the existential reflection that synchronicity sparks. It's not about proving to others. It's about noticing how your life unfolds when you begin trusting the signs. Journaling synchronicities, practicing emotional mindfulness, and diving into symbolic interpretation are real-world practices that make this hidden order more visible, even if it can't be bottled up in a lab. But if synchronicity defies easy proof, how can we recognize when it's actually happening in the chaos of daily life? Is there a way to sharpen our inner radar to pick up on these meaningful coincidences without getting lost in wishful thinking? Well, let's dig into some everyday examples and discover just how close synchronicity really is, maybe closer than you've ever imagined. Everyday examples and recognition of synchronicity. If you think synchronicity only happens to mystics or psychologists buried in old books, think again. Carl Jung believed that synchronicity dances through everyone's life. You just have to know how to spot it. Everyday moments are dripping with symbolic language from the unconscious mind, linking the internal world and external world in ways that feel too perfect to be random. Maybe you think of someone you haven't seen in years, and they call you that afternoon. Maybe you're struggling with a decision, and the answer pops up in a line from a song playing at a cafe. That's synchronicity at work. It's during pivotal personal moments, often wrapped in emotional intensity or crisis, that these meaningful coincidences tend to surface. Have you ever lost a job only to stumble onto a passion project you never thought about before? Or ended a relationship just to meet someone who teaches you exactly what you needed to grow? Jung would smile knowingly at these events. To him, they were reflections of the collective unconscious weaving personal growth opportunities into the fabric of your external world. Signs are always there. You just have to tune your vision a little sharper. A great exercise for sharpening that vision is to keep a coincidence diary. Whenever something oddly meaningful happens, like seeing a book multiple times in a week, hearing the same obscure phrase from different people, or bumping into a rare symbol, write it down. Over time, patterns emerge, making it clear you're not living in a universe of pure chaos. Instead, you're witnessing a hidden order that links your soul's needs with the grand, interconnected universe. And guess what? The more you acknowledge these signs, the more they seem to show up. Of course, it's easy to miss these signals if you're glued to your phone or rushing mindlessly from one task to another. Developing awareness is a little like learning to read an ancient, invisible map. It demands presence, self-awareness, and a pinch of humility. If you catch yourself dismissing something as just a coincidence, pause. Ask yourself, what emotion was stirring inside me when this happened? What deeper need or question might this event be answering? That's how emotional intensity and existential reflection unlock the hidden messages life is trying to deliver. And if recognizing synchronicities in everyday life already feels a bit like stepping into a secret dimension, wait until you hear what Jung himself had to say about this phenomenon. His words don't just validate these experiences, they reveal a whole new vision of how reality actually works. One where causality takes a back seat, and unity through symbolism and meaning drives the whole mysterious ride. Jung's own words on synchronicity. Carl Jung didn't leave us guessing when it came to understanding synchronicity. He spelled it out with clarity, wisdom, and just the right amount of mystery. He described synchronicity as the bridge between the internal world and external world, a secret handshake between the unconscious mind and the hidden order of the interconnected universe. Jung often said that meaningful coincidence was proof that the universe wasn't just a chaotic mess, but was stitched together by invisible threads of symbolic language and existential reflection. Pretty bold, right? In one of his most famous reflections, Jung wrote, "Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see it. It's a gentle yet powerful nudge. Open your perception, and you'll realize that the emotional intensity you experience isn't isolated from the larger cosmic stage. Your private crises, your private awakenings, are echoes of a larger, unified dance, a choreography of signs, symbolism, and transformation played out across the personal and collective unconscious." Jung also emphasized that synchronicity bypasses the old scientific obsession with causality, offering instead a finality-driven, meaning-rich view of life. He argued that we shouldn't always ask what caused this, but rather, what does this mean for me right now? Imagine facing a setback and, instead of spiraling into fear or blame, you see it as a synchronistic signpost pointing you toward personal growth. That small mental shift could mean the difference between feeling like a victim of chaos and becoming a conscious co-creator of your destiny. His exploration of the scarab beetle, emotional intensity, and the breakdown of causality wasn't just academic curiosity. It was a battle cry against the soulless materialism that he felt was eroding human consciousness. He wanted people to reclaim their ability to see the hidden order at play, to feel the pulse of unity connecting the internal and external worlds. To Jung, recognizing synchronicity wasn't just about being mystical. It was about achieving deeper self-awareness and ultimately healing the fractured relationship between the human soul and the universe. And if Jung's words are enough to stir something inside you, maybe a flicker of curiosity or a sudden existential reflection, you're right on track. Because next, we'll see how this profound vision ties into even older wisdom traditions, like Stoicism, and how the principles of necessity and finality offer a deeper map for interpreting the strange, beautiful dance of synchronicity through life. Synchronicity and the Stoic principles of necessity and finality. It's almost eerie how Jung's exploration of synchronicity dances so perfectly with the ancient wisdom of Stoicism. The Stoics, much like Jung, believed that life wasn't random chaos but flowed according to a hidden order, a divine reason or logos shaping both the internal world and external world. They spoke about the principle of necessity, meaning events that must happen for your growth, and the principle of finality, meaning events that guide you toward your highest human potential. Sound familiar? That's the same rhythm synchronicity taps into, pulling you forward with symbolic language and emotional intensity. Imagine facing a crushing disappointment, like missing out on a promotion you desperately wanted. The principle of necessity says this event had to happen to crack open a deeper layer of your unconscious mind. And when you reflect on the transformation it sets in motion, perhaps steering you toward a career more aligned with your soul, you realize you're being nudged by a meaningful coincidence, not random cruelty. Carl Jung would smile at this, seeing it as the interconnected universe weaving threads of transformation through the crises you once cursed. The principle of finality, on the other hand, gives synchronicity its teleological flavor. It whispers that your life has direction, purpose, and yes, destiny. Those synchronistic moments when everything lines up perfectly aren't accidents. They're little cosmic winks affirming that you're on your right path. Whether it's meeting the perfect mentor at the perfect time or stumbling upon a book that shifts your entire worldview, the universe isn't working against you. It's working through you, aligning your external world with the silent longing of your unconscious mind for growth and fulfillment. Want a practical tip? When you encounter emotional intensity or a crisis, pause and ask, what necessity is this serving? What finality could this be pointing me toward? You'll be amazed how the existential reflection opens doors you didn't even know existed. The idea isn't to passively accept hardship, but to engage with it like a seasoned alchemist, turning life's apparent lead into psychological and spiritual gold. That's real resilience, the kind that transforms you from merely surviving to consciously evolving. Now, if synchronicity and Stoic wisdom both suggest that crises aren't just setbacks, but secret initiations, what does that say about the moments in life when emotions burn brightest and the soul feels stretched thin? Well, according to Jung, those are exactly the times when synchronicity leaps most boldly into your path. And that's where we're headed next. Moments of emotional intensity and psychic transformation. Carl Jung noticed something most people overlook. Synchronicities don't just pop up when life is smooth and easy. Oh no, they love to crash the party when you're knee-deep in emotional intensity, standing at the crossroads of crisis and psychic transformation. When the internal world gets shaken up by loss, by change, by existential reflection, the external world seems to answer with a strange, poetic resonance. It's as if the unconscious mind starts leaking into the outside world, sending symbolic visions through everyday events to nudge you toward growth. Think about it. Major life transitions, like moving cities, losing a loved one, or surviving a health scare, often come wrapped with flashes of meaningful coincidence. Maybe you're grieving and suddenly stumble upon a story that mirrors your pain and offers hope. Maybe you're lost about your purpose, and a stranger drops a single phrase that becomes your personal mantra. Jung saw these moments not as comforting illusions, but as glimpses into the hidden order of an interconnected universe, drawing you into your next level of becoming. And it's not just about dramatic events either. Even subtle emotional intensity can trigger synchronicity if you're tuned in. Feeling creatively blocked? That's when you might randomly meet someone who reignites your passion. Struggling with identity? That's when symbolic signs flood your dreams, offering new archetypal images to rebuild your self-awareness. The key is recognizing that the deeper the internal shakeup, the more potent the symbolic language becomes. If you're willing to listen with your soul, not just your ears. Here's a real-world exercise you can practice. During any intense emotional period, keep a synchronicity tracker. Write down dreams, strange coincidences, repeated symbols, even odd conversations. Review them weekly with an open heart. Patterns will emerge, sometimes eerie, sometimes exhilarating, that reveal where your unconscious mind is steering you. It's like learning to surf cosmic waves instead of getting thrashed by them. This practice strengthens your resilience and deepens your relationship with the mystery of existence itself. So if emotional upheaval feels overwhelming, take heart. You're standing at the threshold of transformation, where the scarab beetle taps against the window, inviting you to see the invisible links between your suffering, your healing, and the hidden unity of all things. And speaking of unity, Jung had a brilliant way of framing it, an ancient idea called nos mundos, the mystical vision of one world where mind and matter merge. Let's open that door next. The concept of nos mundos and the unified universe. When Carl Jung stumbled upon the old alchemical idea of nos mundos, or one world, it was like he found the missing piece of the synchronicity puzzle. According to this vision, the internal world and external world aren't two separate realms. They're two faces of the same cosmic coin. The unconscious mind, symbolic visions, and even those shocking, meaningful coincidences all reflect a hidden order where mind and matter are deeply intertwined. In Jung's view, transformation and personal growth weren't just psychological. They were part of a grand, interconnected universe at work. Nos mundos suggests that reality isn't a cold, dead machine grinding away in isolation. Instead, it's a vibrant tapestry where every emotional intensity, every existential reflection weaves itself into the larger story of existence. You're not merely living inside the universe. You are an active participant in its unfolding. When synchronicities pop up, it's as if a curtain lifts for a moment, giving you a glimpse into this unified field where the principle of causality takes a back seat and symbolism, meaning, and unity takes center stage. To make this more tangible, imagine dreaming about finding a key, and the next day, discovering a career opportunity that feels like unlocking your true calling. In the old view, that's weird. In the Jungian view, it's how Nos Mundos works. The collective unconscious isn't buried inside your skull. It's part of the very fabric of existence, mirroring back to you through symbols, signs, and strange coincidences. Alchemy, Eastern philosophy, and even Stoicism all hinted at this unity long before quantum physicists started catching up. You can start living in awareness of Nos Mundos by treating every moment, every encounter, as potentially sacred. Instead of brushing off coincidences or labeling emotional intensity as inconvenient, start asking, what is life trying to show me right now? This tiny shift transforms random experiences into powerful guides for transformation. Synchronicity stops feeling like luck or superstition and starts feeling like what it truly is, a language of unity speaking through your personal story. And if Nos Mundos really is the hidden architecture of reality, what does that mean for the way we live our lives day by day? Well, according to Jung, it means synchronicity isn't just a phenomenon to marvel at. It's a principle we can follow, a compass that guides us through crises, crossroads, and the breathtaking adventure of becoming who we were always meant to be. Let's step into that vision next. Synchronicity as a guiding principle for life's journey. Carl Jung didn't see synchronicity as some occasional magic trick the universe pulls out when it's bored. No, he saw it as a guiding principle for life itself, a sacred dialogue between the unconscious mind, the internal world, and the unfolding external world. Every meaningful coincidence is like a signpost pointing you toward deeper self-awareness, transformation, and personal growth. It's like the universe gently, or sometimes not so gently, tapping you on the shoulder, saying, hey, pay attention. This way, think of moments when you felt stuck, lost, or at a crossroads. Now, think about those odd little coincidences that seem to nudge you along. A chance meeting, a meaningful dream, a random book falling off a shelf into your hands. Jung believed these weren't accidents. They were life's way of giving you a compass when your rational mind had no map. The key isn't just recognizing these signs, but trusting them enough to act, even when logic tells you you're crazy for doing so. If you want to lean into synchronicity as a guiding principle, here's a practice. Whenever you're grappling with a big decision, spend time in stillness first. Meditate, journal, walk in nature, anything that quiets the noise. Then pay close attention over the next few days. What symbolic visions show up? What meaningful coincidences whisper in your path? When the internal world stirs deeply, the external world often mirrors it back, helping you choose with greater alignment and authenticity. Following synchronicity isn't about abandoning reason. It's about expanding your toolkit for navigating life. You're weaving together emotional intensity, existential reflection, and a symbolic language of the interconnected universe. It's a radically different way to move through the world, one where even the hardest moments are seen not just as suffering, but as initiation, transformation, and secret instructions for becoming your truest self. And trust me, once you taste it, there's no going back to seeing life as a random series of disconnected events. Of course, all of this hinges on one thing: awareness. Without it, synchronicities slip past unnoticed, like rare birds flying overhead while your eyes are glued to your phone. So the question becomes, how do you sharpen that awareness and trust enough to actually live guided by synchronicity, rather than dismissing it as foolishness? Well, That's exactly where Jung's final insight comes blazing into view. The need for awareness and trust in synchronicity. Carl Jung's final and perhaps most urgent teaching on synchronicity is brutally simple. Awareness and trust are everything. Without them, the symbolic visions, the emotional intensity, the whispers from the interconnected universe, all of it goes unnoticed, like a grand symphony playing to an empty room. The unconscious mind doesn't stop speaking just because we stop listening. It keeps offering signs through the internal world and external world, hoping we'll slow down enough to hear its ancient, symbolic language. Skepticism and distraction are the two biggest thieves of synchronicity. In today's world, it's all too easy to dismiss meaningful coincidences as just random, or to stay glued to screens, missing the scarab beetles knocking at our windows. But Jung would tell you that these meaningful coincidences aren't trivial. They're catalysts for transformation and personal growth. Recognizing them demands more than intelligence. It demands emotional courage and existential reflection. You have to risk feeling foolish to glimpse the hidden order threading through your life. Want a simple way to begin sharpening your awareness? Start a daily practice of symbolic noticing. At the end of each day, jot down anything unusual, a strange conversation, a repeated phrase, an unexpected encounter. Reflect. What emotional undercurrent was present? What personal question or crisis might this event be answering? Over time, you'll train your psyche to recognize the threads of connection woven into your days. Awareness grows like a muscle. The more you use it, the more powerful it becomes. And then comes trust, the harder part. Awareness sees the signs, but trust acts on them. Trusting synchronicity might mean calling that old friend who randomly popped into your mind, applying for the job that strangely keeps appearing, or daring to follow a path that logic can't fully justify yet. It's terrifying sometimes, but it's also where the real alchemy of change happens, where fear gives way to courage, and chaos reveals itself as hidden unity. Jung knew this was the leap most people would resist, and yet it's the leap that unlocks everything. Because if you think about it, if the universe is speaking to you, if life itself is offering you a personal map through symbols and meaningful coincidences, can you really afford to keep ignoring it? Or is it finally time to wake up, listen, and start walking the wild, beautiful road that synchronicity is lighting up right under your feet? So now the question is staring you in the face. Will you keep treating life like a series of random accidents, or will you finally start listening to the secret language the universe has been speaking to you all along? Carl Jung showed us that synchronicity isn't just a mystical idea. It's a bridge to a deeper, richer existence where every emotional intensity, every symbolic vision, is an invitation to personal growth and transformation. The signs are there, always have been, but only you can choose to open your eyes and walk through the door. What if your next breakthrough isn't hidden in another course, another book, or another logical plan, but in recognizing the scarab tapping against your window right now? Are you willing to trust the meaningful coincidences unfolding in your life? Are you ready to embrace the interconnected universe and finally align your journey with a deeper flow of existence? Awareness is a choice. Trust is an act of courage. And the life that's waiting for you beyond skepticism is far greater than you can imagine. If you're serious about stepping into this powerful way of living, don't just stop here. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and join a community that's waking up to the hidden order Jung spoke about. We're just getting started, and the next message the universe sends might just change your life forever.